Okay, I'm the moderator. My name is Eugene Zhang. I'm leading a micro VC fund in the Valley, in the South Bay, called a TEEC Angel Fund for 80 years. So consider myself a traditional investor, but kind of tap into the blockchain space since 2013. Invested in Mailcoin, which is the largest exchange in Taiwan. So today the panel is about China. So as everybody knows, quickly 1 minute, like 8 years ago, the main business model has been copied to China on consumer. The representative is the coupon model. People say, hey, 18 months, I copy whatever it works in US and do it in China, right? If there's something hasn't been done in US, the VC will not invest. Fast forward to 2 years ago, a lot of people, including, not undeniably Facebook, all that copy a lot of advanced features from WeChat, and then a lot of ride sharing is kind of similar timeline, but to the bike sharing, really China leading in many ways on mobile payment and all that consumer space. So back to blockchain and crypto space, it is really day one, it's a global event. It's hard to say, I chatted with many entrepreneurs, it's hard to say it's like China or US or international. It's like a day one, the community is international. So with that, so I'd like to kind of quickly, have the Stan and Zhang to quickly introduce themselves.
Cool. Sure.
Yeah.
Hello, hi. Can you hear me okay? Stan Fung, I'm with Zhen Cao Ventures. It's a China-based, Shanghai-based venture capital fund. I moved back to China 3 years ago. I used to be a VC on the East Coast, US, for almost 15 years before I moved back. So my experience, is a mix of both now. I'll be actually on 3 panels. They assigned me generously on 3. So I'll be on today. I'll talk about mostly the token itself, the coin itself. Tomorrow I'll talk about the blockchain and then the global startup phenomenon that we see in venture capital. So this is, so we have some exposure, but not directly in cryptocurrency itself because it's restricted in China now. But we do have some other experience with a foreign firm to try to use a token for exchange trading. And then I can talk about the experience that we have on how we try to get adopted in China, the restrictions and the process that we go through.
Glad to see everyone, and actually same here. I came from the traditional venture side as well. I made a lot of VR, AR, computer vision, and AI investment back then. And then we have a blockchain partner in our fund, so I have been learning on that side. And I deployed over 10 million in token sales in last few months. And then right now I work with JD Capital, with JLab, which is the largest private equity fund in China. And this is the first move of the private equity fund. We are leveraging a lot of our publicly traded portfolios, and also we work with a lot of internet finance companies with over 10 billion, 1 billion transaction volume. And we also work with a lot of, so we invested a lot of public chain companies. So if anyone familiar with Ontology, that's a project came from on-chain. So they've been doing the blockchain tech development in China for years, and they are the team behind Neo. And then they are leveraging another identity-based blockchain. And we also invested in ELF, and recently I closed a deal with Thunder Token, which is higher transaction volume, more robust consensus mechanisms, and the people behind it is Ilan Shi, which one of the core people in IC3, which came from the academic background. And also I invested in Metadium, which is a very old Korean company. It's called CoinPlug, and they've been working on blockchain infrastructure layer for 3 years, and then they're doing the tokenization as well. So I've been exploring a lot of application, privacy, and security stuff. But of course, mostly I base in America. And then recently I did a trip back to China. And there's a lot of things going on in WeChat, a lot of things going on offline. And everyone is super excited, even though the regulation is really, really strict. And I was in some dinner, which is public chain is trying to onboard a public company which has over 100 million users in China to work with exchange. So a lot of offline activities is happening, and a lot of traditional internet finance people, any of the traditional internet company with traffic is coming in. So that's a very interesting sign, because they have traffic, they can do the implementation. So yeah, we would love to talk more about that.
So yeah, I think I've been here sitting in the South Bay, but I definitely have met a lot of team from China coming to US, as it's very, very international. They want to build a community here in the US also. But if we say there's some distinction that would be, in my opinion, would be that many US companies, they are, for example, like the companies offered on coin list, like a Filecoin, and now, for example, they are not that in a rush to list their coins on exchanges. Of course, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the SEC regulation, all that stuff, so made it even more so, and maybe they feel it's made a right decision. Versus a team from China, they usually, just like in other things in consumer market, they kind of do it because the brutal competition, they kind of have to rush to have the business model flesh out very quickly. So they tend to go to the exchange very quickly. I also participate in company like, you do the pre-sale and then you list the next day. It's kind of unbelievable thing for someone like me. It's like unbelievable kind of pace, right? So those are all new things, and of course we have a lot of questions around that. Maybe I kind of point to Zhen for a case maybe you're familiar with, called Xunlei, right? So to my observation, there are a lot of companies that are native to the blockchain space. They have the crypto space, issued crypto, very native. And then you have another one called in Chinese called 改造型. It's like they already have a company running, but they want to take advantage of the token economy, give them a quick boost. I think the simplified way to think about it, if your company is growing 30%, then you want to have with the tokenization, maybe you want to have the 10x growth. I think Xunlei could be a case, but of course later on government did something. Could you tell us more about it? That's actually very interesting, how existing company tokenized and kind of went on a kind of quick, fast growth.
Yeah. Basically, their business model is decentralized data storage and mining on the consumer level. So they are leveraging their large user base and to do the decentralized content delivery network and the consumer mining. And it's interesting that there's so many companies trying to take the tokenization as a wave of creating community, of creating the more transaction volume. And for the stock price wise, Xunlei actually, their stock price went up 5x in 1 month after they announced that they're going to do this 1Ke cloud integration. And then after the hype, they went back. The stock price went normal, and they got some regulation issue, and then they did the refund. So there's so we can see that a lot of companies, especially not the one with was famous before, and looking for new new way of a next wave. They're basically seeing the whole blockchain as a next wave of internet. That's why a lot of traditional internet people come in, because they're all the same group of people doing the same thing and to leveraging a layer of the technology. So that's why, and also on the adoption side, Chinese has been very, very aggressive on adoption, because you can see the WeChat Pay, Alipay, those ones are more adaptive in Chinese. And Chinese market is always same way. I was doing a lot of VR investment as well. So same with virtual reality. Chinese has been really aggressively taking advantage of the new wave. Yeah.
So Stan, could you share with us you also been an investor for a long time, and then why maybe share with the audience what makes you excited, and then where do you see the opportunity and potentially risk?
Go back to the example you brought up. There are 2 points I want to make. Let me just go one at a time. The first part is really, it was touched on before in terms of cryptocurrency being kind of like a digital money, new money. There are 3, when you go look at definition of money, it's a medium of exchange, it's a unit of account, and then there's a store of value. There's really traditional definition of money. If you look at cryptocurrency, it missed the 3rd component, right? There's no value to back it up. It's very volatile, but it does serve a purpose of medium of exchange and unit of account. So if you want to make a cryptocurrency usable as a replacement of currencies, you would have to address the value of the value creation and maintenance of the value, and lack of volatility or less volatility. That's very important. Now, when you try to apply to China, that's my second point is, then you start to create this, what we call digital money. And when you start to talk with governments, not just in China, but anywhere in the world, 190 countries that have currencies. A lot of them shouldn't have one, but they all like to have currency because of national pride to have money that is attached to the government. So when you start to have something that come up that replaces the currency that the government creates, not just in China, anywhere in the world, US included, there's a lot of situations that will come up. There will be some crashing of titans, right? So something you need to be aware of. And so how do you address that? That really come back to one issue that has not been brought up so far. I've been here all day today, the accounting issue of what's a cryptocurrency. I don't know whether anyone know about accounting for how do you account for a cryptocurrency on your books? Anyone know the answer? But it depends how you define what's a cryptocurrency. So it turns out the US define it as a thing, like eyeglasses or speaker. In Europe, the German Ministry of Finance has defined it as money, so that when you can now use money to buy and sell things. Now, what's the implication of that? In the first definition, when it's a thing, then when you buy and sell it, it's a transaction. So you can charge taxes, there's foreign exchange implications. When it comes to being a money, then when you buy and sell it, there's no taxes. So in Europe, when you buy and sell a coin, there's no capital gain, no taxes. But in US, if you sell a coin, you have a loss. You can write against your gain last year with other gain you got from the stock market. And so turns out a way to position yourself in China. The reason I mention that is because we have an investment from UK that is using a similar idea. We don't call it cryptocurrency, we just call it an exchange token. It's a unit that lets you keep track of a transaction. So you put something into it, you get more, and then we use it to buy things and on the exchange. So we try very hard not to call it money. We just call it an exchange token. Now, it fit the definition because of how we create that unit. It is a medium of exchange, it's a unit of account, and it's a store of value because it's backed up by a consortium. That makes it defined as a unit that you can now use in a transaction, but yet it's a thing, it's not money. Now, if you take that 2 paths, when you are cash, money, then you have cash accounting, which is typical. You can do all day in your accounting report. But when it comes to a thing, how do you account for it? there's where the trick that comes in. It takes a long time. We are still working on it, on how to get it through the Chinese government policy. Because when you go to work in China, 90% of the work you do is deal with SOEs, and the rest of them is the private market. So the accounting of that thing on the books is something that you need to go through MOF, Minister of Finance, you need to go to People's Bank of China, and that is a tough process to go through. So as a result, when China imposed restrictions on cryptocurrency, it's really along the cash path, because you're talking about being money. And when you have money, then you have an issue, because you're not competing with the currency issued by the government. Now, given this, there was a picture I saw one time, the most 4 powerful men in China. And so it's the government, Mr. Li, and also Mr. Xi. And then it turns out the other 2 were Jack Ma and Pony Ma, because they run WeChat and they run Alipay, and their payment system is the digital currency that replaces renminbi, right? So they are equivalent, they just switch back and forth, and they are really accepted because it's money like the renminbi. But if you start to come in with a unit that is non-renminbi, then the restriction will impose themselves on you. So that's how you actually have to figure out a way to work around it by calling it a thing, and that's what we try. But even that, you have to go to a lot of policy adoptions.
Okay, so I think, thank you very much, Stan. I think here I have to extract information from Stan's, the comments earlier. So I think clearly I totally agree. This is a pain point, in dealing with how to treat the crypto as asset or cash, but also it's opportunity. Anybody heard that? It's opportunity. It's clearly there's a acute need for startup that can deal with tax issues. If anyone working on this, and if hopefully team up with some accounting account experienced people, that'd be great venture to do. Actually, the pain is today, guaranteed to make money, right? So if anyone doing that, I'm happy. Maybe Stan also happy to hear about those cases. I think there's a lot of real value to do instead of chasing pre-sale and hope it's 20x or 40x. But let me segue to another very interesting question. We have like 10 minutes left, which is a struggle between as an investor, invest in equity or invest in token or both. How to deal with it in US, how to deal with it in China. So maybe Zhen, you can comment because they're representing a very well-known China PE fund, right? So it's like established. Normally, a lot of PE funds can't get into something too risky, right? So how do you, if you invest, is that an equity or it's like a token or both? And then maybe both of you, if you could comment, that'd be great.
Yeah, actually, as we all know, right now we're into a bearish market. Even though we have a lot of company, especially in China, they have the market-making power, and they can make their token look good. But now you require the whole market to believe in your thing. And then in this case, the token, the price and the value of the token will be lower than they expected. And then especially when you hit the market and then you lower the ICO price, and actually this company won't have that much negotiation power when they talk to partnership, when they work with consumers. And like there's a lot of speculation happening, of course, but then right now in the bearish market, we'll tend to choose the company who's giving up equity. And then actually it's a little bit same with the investment thesis with Consensus Venture. They are more into equity investment as well. Same with the SEC, they're waiting for the regulation to calm down, and then as long as you invest in the equity of the company, you can still get a chance of getting the token, right? So, and of course, there's a lot of company, they separate their token entity and their equity entity, but still, right now we are looking into both equity and token, and for token side, we're gonna go with the market as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
When we invest, we are a very traditional model, just invest in the equity in the firm. We're a seed-stage investor, so we do the bridge, the A round, B round, C round in traditional sense. We have not invested in ICO yet in both US or in China because we just don't know enough. A comment made earlier, we are like in 1992 on internet. This is the next wave of blockchain for the next 20 years. It's going to change a lot, so we're still learning on how you will develop as we make further investments. So when we invest in the firm, I mentioned the UK firm, we invest in them not because of the token that they create. It's really the business model on what they try to do to put things on the exchange network that really attracts us first. The token is really a mean to make transaction happen in the market they address. So it's an outcome of the investment, not because of the reason why we first invested to begin with.
All right, so I was told that we are open for 5-minute questions. We ran out of time, so anybody has a question for the panelists? Oh, wait in line. Oh, wait in line. Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you for sharing all this. So as an entrepreneur, I can go the regular equity side of things to raise money, or I can go ICO. If I go ICO, then I want to work really hard to make my token as ubiquitous as possible. At the same time, I'm very busy building my business. What do I focus on? Where's the focus?
Let me address that if I may start with my comment. At the end of the day, a company is really the core value is what you create in terms of product and services. You should come with that first. ICO is a funding vehicle to let you raise money. But then you got to link them together at the end, right? I mean, some examples of the lunchtime pitches that address that, some don't, because the linkage is important. Ultimately, as an investor, it's tough enough just to look at the first part. Where's a good business? Where's the long-term vision of the firm? Or where's this platform solution? And then you have to add this ICO angle for yourself, for investors to look at, and make complicated the process. But if you can use that and link it to what you develop as a service and apply it, then there's a lot more reason why it exists. If it's a pure funding vehicle without link to the business itself, I think it's very difficult.
Okay. Right. Okay. All right, next time.